Let us read, and let us dance. These two amusements will never do any harm to the world. Judge a man by his questions rather than by his answers. It is forbidden to kill, therefore all murderers are punished unless they kill in large numbers and to the sound of trumpets. Life is a shipwreck, but we must not forget to sing in the lifeboats. The more I read, the more I acquire, the more certain I am that I know nothing. Common sense is not so common. Love truth, but pardon error. I have never made but one prayer to God, a very short one: O Lord, make my enemies ridiculous. And God granted it. I don't know where I am going, but I am on my way. Every man is guilty of all the good he did not do. Now, my good man, this is no time to be making enemies. Despite the enormous quantity of books, how few people read. And if one reads profitably, one would realize how much stupid stuff the vulgar herd is content to swallow every day. It is dangerous to be right in matters on which the established authorities are wrong. The most important decision you make is to be in a good mood. Doubt is an uncomfortable condition, but certainty is a ridiculous one. It is better to risk saving a guilty person than to condemn an innocent one. Faith consists in believing what reason cannot. Every man is a creature of the age in which he lives, and few are able to raise themselves above the ideas of the time. Our wretched species is so made that those who walk on the well-trodden path always throw stones at those who are showing a new road. The human brain is a complex organ with the wonderful power of enabling man to find reasons for continuing to believe whatever it is that he wants to believe. Don't think money does everything, or you are going to end up doing everything for money. The art of medicine consists of amusing the patient while nature cures the disease. Sensual pleasure passes and vanishes, but the friendship between us, the mutual confidence, the delight of the heart, the enchantment of the soul, these things do not perish and can never be destroyed. If this is the best of possible worlds, what then are the others? It is clear that the individual who persecutes a man, his brother, because he is not of the same opinion, is a monster. Our labor preserves us from three great evils: weariness, vice, and want. Liberty of thought is the life of the soul. One day everything will be well, that is our hope. Everything's fine today, that is our illusion. Men are equal, it is not birth but virtue that makes the difference. Behind every successful man stands a surprised mother-in-law. To succeed in the world it is not enough to be stupid, one must also be polite. Meditation is the dissolution of thoughts in eternal awareness or pure consciousness without objectification, knowing without thinking, merging finitude in infinity.
François-Marie Arouet, November 21, 1694 to May 30, 1778, known as Voltaire, was a writer, philosopher, poet, dramatist, historian and polemicist of the French Enlightenment. He was famous for his wit, his attacks on the established Catholic Church, and his advocacy of freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and separation of church and state. Voltaire was the fifth child and fourth son of François Arouet and his wife Marie Marguerite Domard. His early education came from the Jesuits at the Collège Louis-le-Grand. Voltaire also continued learning outside the confines of formal education. He developed his writing talents and also became multilingual, attaining fluency in English, Italian, and Spanish in addition to his native French. Voltaire's exile to England would change his entire outlook. He moved in the same circles as some of the leading figures of English society, thought, and culture, including Jonathan Swift, Alexander Pope, and more. In 1733, Voltaire also met the most significant romantic partner of his life, Emily, the Marquise du Châtelet, a mathematician who was married to the Marquis du Châtelet. Despite being 12 years younger than Voltaire, and married, and a mother, Emily was very much an intellectual peer to Voltaire. Voltaire's romance with the Marquise du Châtelet had begun to wind down. He grew tired of spending nearly all his time at her estate, and both found new companionship. In Voltaire's case, it was even more scandalous than their affair had been. He was attracted to, and later lived with, his own niece, Marie-Louise Mignot. In 1749, the Marquise died in childbirth, and Voltaire moved to Prussia the following year. Voltaire arrived in Geneva in 1755. He continued publishing, with major philosophical writings such as Candide, or Optimism, a satire of Leibniz's philosophy of optimistic determinism, which would become Voltaire's most famous work. Starting in 1762, Voltaire took up the causes of unjustly persecuted people, particularly those who were victims of religious persecution. Voltaire's last year was still full of activity. In early 1778, he was initiated into Freemasonry, and historians dispute as to whether he did so at the urging of Benjamin Franklin or not. He also returned to Paris for the first time in a quarter century to see his latest play, Irene, open. He fell ill on the journey and believed himself to be on death's doorstep, but recovered. 2 months later, however, he became ill again and died on May 30, 1778.